Listen up, I never planned on airing my dirty laundry like this, but here we are, and I'm spilling the tea. I'm Hannah, 26, and apparently, I'm the bad guy in everybody's book these days. Before you start throwing shade like the rest of the world, let me lay out what really went down. Mike and I have been hitched for 2 years, and honestly it was fine, I guess. He's got this warehouse gig working nights, and I'm wrangling the evening shift at a retail joint downtown. It ain't fancy, but we split the rent on our shoebox apartment and kept the lights on. But here's the deal with Mike, and I'm not trying to drag him, okay? He's emotionally AWOL most of the time. Dude comes home, flops on the couch like a sack of potatoes, and scrolls his phone for hours. I'd try to chat about my day, our marriage, literally anything, and I'd get grunts or one-word answers, like I'm talking to a brick wall. It's like being roommates with a guy I just happened to share a bed with, you know? I started seeing this therapist, Dr. Lopez, about 8 months back. 'Cause work was stressing me out, and I was losing it trying to get Mike to actually talk to me. She was a lifesaver, no cap. Didn't make me feel like I was nuts for wanting more from my husband. She dropped some wisdom about how some folks show love differently. And Mike's whole silent bro vibe didn't mean he didn't care. But it still sucked big time. I was out here pouring my heart out, while he's just chilling in his own little bubble, oblivious. So, when this girl's trip to San Diego with my work crew popped up, I was pumped. 3 days of sun, cocktails, and zero worries about bills or Mike's epic silent treatment. When I told him, he barely glanced up from his phone, just mumbled, "Sounds cool, babe." No follow-up questions, no who's going. Or where you staying? Nada. Part of me was like, sweet, he's not clingy. But the other part? Totally ticked off that he gave 0 flips. I mean really, Mike. You can't even pretend to care. The hotel was downtown, swanky enough to make us feel like ballers but not so bougie we'd be eating instant noodles for weeks. Our rooms were connected on the 6th floor, and my girls were already plotting to hit every rooftop bar in town. I wasn't planning to go wild, I'm a married woman, duh. But I also wasn't about to blow up Mike's phone with updates he'd probably ignore anyway. First night was standard vodka vibes. Overpriced drinks, cringe-worthy dancing, and a million selfies I slapped on Facebook. Mike liked a couple but didn't comment. Classic Mike move, no surprise there. Day 2, while my friends were snoozing off their hangovers, I met Carter at the hotel pool. He was there for some boring conference with his girlfriend, Lena, and looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. We got to chatting, and let me tell you, it was the first legit convo I'd had with a dude in months. When was the last time Mike asked about my dreams or what I wanted out of life? Spoiler, never. Carter was all ears, asking about my job, my hobbies, even my hot takes on random stuff. He actually listened, not just nodding while sneaking peeks at his phone. We grabbed lunch while my friends were still passed out. And yeah, I caught myself looking forward to seeing him again. Red flag. Maybe, but I was too starved for attention to care. That night, my girls wanted to bar hop again, but I was over it after the previous night's chaos. I told them to go nuts, I'd catch up later. Instead, I ended up grabbing drinks with Carter at the hotel bar. Lena was off at some work dinner, and he was as fed up with conference chit-chat as I was with vacation madness. We talked for hours about everything. His job, his family, his travel dreams, my feeling like a ghost in my own marriage. Carter actually asked follow-up questions, made me feel like my words mattered. When he walked me to my room at midnight, I knew something was brewing, and yeah, I was all in. For once, someone was treating me like I was worth noticing. So, yeah, Carter came to my room that night. Before you clutch your pearls, let me say I was emotionally parched, okay? Mike barely looked at me unless he wanted something, and even then, it felt like a chore for both of us. When Carter kissed me, it was like waking up after years of sleepwalking. That night was everything my marriage wasn't. Passionate, connected, like I actually mattered. The next morning, Carter had to bounce early for his conference, but he said he hadn't felt that connected to someone in years. Can you picture Mike saying that? Yeah, me neither. Flying home, I was a mess of guilt and adrenaline. Guilt 'cause I cheated on my husband, obviously. But the thrill. I felt alive again, like I'd been numb forever and finally snapped out of it. My friends kept side-eyeing me, asking why I was glowing, and I just said the trip was what I needed. Technically not a lie. When Mike picked me up at the airport, he was all smiles, asking about the trip, even suggesting we grab pizza and Netflix. It was cute, reminded me why I married him. I started thinking maybe the Carter thing was a wake-up call to appreciate what I had. For a week, things with Mike were solid. I was more lovey-dovey, and he actually paid attention for once. I thought, maybe this is a silver lining, pushing me to work harder on us. But then, like clockwork, Mike slipped back into his old ways, glued to his phone at dinner, giving me half-baked ahas when I talked, dozing off mid-convo. It was like he had a quota for caring, and he was always tapped out. I was back to feeling like a ghost, wondering why I was busting my butt for someone who barely noticed me. That's when I spilled to Dr. Lopez about San Diego. At first, I kept it vague, just saying I had an experience that made me question my marriage. She was chill, didn't make me feel like a monster for having doubts. When I finally fessed up about Carter, she stayed quiet for a minute, then asked how I felt, regretful? Guilty. Did I think Mike needed to know? I was torn. Part of me wanted to come clean, but another part knew it'd nuke our marriage for no reason. It was done, not happening again, so why torch everything over one slip-up? Dr. Lopez hit me with some real talk. Sometimes loving someone means shielding them from pain that won't fix anything. She asked if telling Mike would strengthen us or just dump my guilt on him. When she framed it like that, keeping quiet seemed like the kinder move. Why make Mike suffer for my one-time mistake? I wasn't planning an encore. She helped me see that Carter wasn't the issue. It was feeling neglected by Mike. Cheating wasn't cool, but it was a symptom of bigger problems. The grown-up thing was to learn from it and be a better wife, not blow up Mike's trust over something that was history. She said something that stuck. Sometimes the most loving thing is carrying the weight of your screw-ups alone, not passing the hurt to someone who doesn't deserve it. That hit home 'cause Mike wasn't a bad guy. He was just him, emotionally checked out. Not his fault, just his wiring. The more we talked, the clearer it got that confessing would just be me trying to offload my guilt onto him. That's kinda selfish, right? The mature move was dealing with my mess privately and fixing what led to it. Dr. Lopez suggested I turn my guilt into action. Be more grateful for Mike, invest in our marriage. Maybe we needed better communication, more quality time, some intentional spark. Those were things I could control without dropping a bomb on our life. So I stepped up at home. Cooked Mike's favorite tacos, suggested evening walks, cut him slack when he was beat from work. I even bought some cute lingerie and planned romantic nights, though Mike just looked confused like, "What's this about?" That's him though, shows love through actions, not words. He started pitching in with dishes, brought me coffee in bed a few times, even floated a camping trip for his next days off. Things were looking up, and I felt like I was handling this like a boss, owning my mistake without hurting anyone. Dr. Lopez said she was proud of my growth, and I started feeling like maybe this whole mess made me a better person. I even thought others could learn from my approach, like if people owned their mistakes privately instead of dumping them on their partners, maybe fewer relationships would crash and burn. Not every secret needs to be spilled, right? Sometimes you handle it like an adult with a therapist's help. Then, on a random Tuesday at work, while I was dealing with a shipment snafu and training a new girl who couldn't work the register to save her life, my phone pinged with a Facebook message from some chick named Lena Morales. Her profile pic rang a bell, but I couldn't place it. Then I read her message and my stomach dropped. "We need to talk about you and my boyfriend Carter in San Diego." My brain went into panic mode. How did she know? Carter and I were careful, no pics, no posts, barely talked in public. Then I got mad. What kind of dude spills about cheating unless he's caught? That's like cheating 101. Keep your mouth shut. But Lena's messages made it clear Carter had blabbed everything, saying he couldn't live with the guilt. She knew my name, the hotel, even details about our night that made me want to yeet my phone across the break room. "Thanks, Carter, for ratting me out so you could sleep better," I thought, rolling my eyes. Lena wanted to meet up, but I wasn't about to drive across town to get chewed out by some stranger. I told her I was sorry she found out like that, But her drama with Carter was their deal, not mine. She kept messaging though, saying I deserved to know Carter confessed and that Mike should know too. That's when it hit me, she wasn't just upset. She wanted to torch my life too. Misery loves company, I guess. I blocked her faster than you can say drama queen and tried to focus on work. But my hands were shaking so bad I could barely count the register. When I got home, Mike was chilling, watching some cooking show, acting normal. Asked about my day, mentioned his coworker brought donuts. Typical Mike stuff. I kept waiting for him to drop a bomb about a weird message, but nothing. Maybe Lena was just bluffing. I couldn't sleep though. Every time his phone buzzed, I jumped. I started sneaking peeks at his Facebook when he showered, checking his email when he left it open, looking for any sign she'd reached out. 3 days of nothing, and I started hoping she'd moved on to her own mess. Then, Friday afternoon, while I was covering for a no-show at work, Mike texted, "Can you come home early? We need to talk." My heart sank. "We need to talk" is never good news in a marriage. I felt like I was gonna hurl right there in the stockroom. I asked if everything was okay, and he just said he'd rather talk in person. 20-minute drive home felt like a lifetime. I ran through every scenario. Deny it. Downplay it. Flip it and ask why he's chatting with random women. By the time I pulled into our lot, I was more pissed than scared. Like, who was Lena to meddle in my marriage? And why couldn't Carter keep his trap shut like a normal person? Mike was on the couch, laptop open, Facebook up. I could see Lena's message thread from across the room. She'd really done it, sent him screenshots, dates, the works. His face wasn't angry, just hurt, which hit harder than if he'd been screaming. He asked me to sit, his voice barely above a whisper, and started reading Lena's messages out loud. About the hotel, Carter's confession, how Mike deserved the truth about his wife. Hearing it like that made it sound way worse than it was. I tried to explain it wasn't some grand love affair. Just one dumb night when I felt totally disconnected from him. I laid it all out. How I'd begged for real talks about us, how lonely I was, how he never seemed to care about anything that mattered to me. He just sat there taking it in, not clapping back, which was maddening. When I said Dr. Lopez helped me process it and advised me to keep quiet, Mike looked like I'd slapped him. He asked how long I'd been spilling our marriage tea to a therapist without telling him and why she'd tell me to lie. I said it wasn't lying, it was sparing him pointless pain. Dr. Lopez made me see that sometimes, love means handling your mistakes solo. But Mike wasn't having it. Kept asking why I didn't talk to him about feeling disconnected instead of hooking up with some rando in San Diego. I said I did try, but he was always too tired, distracted, or just not there emotionally. Was I supposed to beg for his attention forever? He went silent for ages, then asked if I wanted to be with Carter, if there were other guys, if I was planning to bail on him. I swore I wanted him, that San Diego was a stupid one-off that'd never happen again. I pointed out how hard I'd been working to be a better wife. Hadn't he noticed things were better lately? He admitted they were, but now he didn't know if it was real or just me feeling guilty. That stung. 'Cause I had been trying. More affection, more patience, appreciating his small gestures. But apparently, none of that counted, 'cause of one mistake months ago. Then Mike dropped the bomb. He wanted me to pack a bag and crash somewhere else so he could think. Just like that, I'm supposed to bounce, 'cause he couldn't deal like an adult. I asked where I was supposed to go and he snapped. Figure it out, since you're so good at making decisions behind my back. Low blow, Mike, real mature. I grabbed some stuff and crashed at my friend Emma's, feeling like I was getting way more flack than I deserved. Yeah, I messed up, but I was trying to protect our marriage. Now it was all crumbling. 'Cause some nosy chick couldn't stay in her lane and my husband couldn't handle a tough convo. It's been 4 months since Mike gave me the boot. I'm still reeling from how fast it all went south over something that should have stayed buried. He won't even talk to me now. Just had his buddy Mason drop off my stuff at Emma's. Mason acted like I was some kind of villain, not a woman who made one mistake in a marriage where she felt invisible. This whole mess has shown me how quick people are to turn on you when things get messy. Mike kept the apartment 'cause his name's on the lease, leaving me to scramble for a place I could afford. Now I'm renting a room from some older lady, sharing a bathroom and kitchen. Major downgrade from my own spot with my husband. Emma let me couchsurf for a bit, but she got all judgy, dropping snarky comments about how I should have thought twice before cheating. Gee, thanks Emma, super helpful when I'm at rock bottom. Dr. Lopez has been my rock though. She's helped me see Mike's reaction was kinda childish. Like, instead of working through our issues like a couple who's been married 2 years, he just shut down and bailed. She says it shows he wasn't as all-in as I thought. If he loved me, wouldn't he fight for us instead of throwing it all away over one slip-up? His inability to forgive says more about him than me. The worst part is seeing Mike move on like our marriage was nothing. I still creep on his Facebook and he's living his best life. Gym selfies, hanging with friends I barely knew he had, even a hiking trip with work buddies. Meanwhile, I'm stuck dealing with the fallout, explaining our breakup, dodging side-eyes, rebuilding my life from scratch. Work's awkward too. Nobody knows the real story 'cause it's not their business, but I can tell some co-workers have pieced it together. They're colder, more distant, like I'm some lowlife they don't respect anymore. What grinds my gears is nobody cares about what pushed me to San Diego. They just slap the cheater label on me and call it a day. They don't get how lonely it was being married to someone who barely noticed me. How hard I tried to connect with Mike before Carter even showed up. But nope, I'm the villain 'cause I technically stepped out. I've tried dating a bit, but it's a snooze. Trusting people is tough when you know how fast they'll ditch you. Plus, dating in your late 20s when you thought you'd be settled? Depressing. All the good guys are taken, and the single ones come with red flags you can see from space. Sometimes, I wonder what would have happened if Lena had just dealt with her own drama instead of playing vigilante with my marriage. Mike and I were actually getting better before she decided to nuke everything with her petty crusade. Dr. Lopez keeps saying I need to focus on my own healing, not what others did wrong, but it's hard not to be salty. I did everything right, worked with a therapist, tried to fix my marriage, kept Mike's feelings first, and it still wasn't enough. Guess some people can't handle the gray areas of real relationships. They want everything neat and perfect, but life ain't like that. Good people mess up sometimes, and the grown-up thing is handling it quietly, not stirring up drama that screws everyone over. The kicker is Mike's got everyone thinking I'm some sneaky mastermind living a double life, when all I was doing was trying to find happiness in a marriage that left me empty. But apparently, wanting more from your husband is selfish, and protecting him from pain is manipulative. Maybe I should have just stayed miserable or dumped him over his communication issues instead of trying to fix things like an adult. Now I'm starting over at 26, crashing in a stranger's house, dodging judgment, while Mike plays the poor victim and sails on like our 2 years meant zilch. It's not fair, but that's life, I guess. At least I know I tried to do right, even if nobody else sees it.